Here are my 10 favorite commands and one bonus tip for you. First command we're going to run is the init command, which stands for initialize. The init command is something that you would normally do in the beginning of the project. Code is currently doing it is actually creating the CLAUDE.md file, so it's running through the code base, trying to understand the design system, the actual structure of the package.json file as well, see what dependencies do we have, how to run lint checks, and so on. So it should be a living document. Don't just use it once, just keep iterating on it. You can also specify in the Claude.md what you would like Claude, for example, not to do. So the second command we're going to look at is the command for configuration. I haven't seen many people using it, but it's actually a great place because you get quite a lot of configuration settings which you can set up. So auto compact, I'm just going to briefly talk through those. Auto compact means that if the context gets too big, it's going to automatically compact the context. So the previous conversation, just leaving the most important things. Show tips, just shows you tips, onboarding. Thinking mode, just make sure the thinking mode is actually turned on. You can check that by running the /config and coming here. The first time I had my Claude Code set up, it was set to false, but you can override it by setting it to true. Then the other important one is the rewind code, so ability to rewind, and we are going to look at the / command in one of the later tips. The other thing that is pretty important here is the default permissions mode. So default is pretty much like a default behavior, but you can override that as well. So plan mode, so whenever you start a conversation with Claude Code, it is always going to start in a plan mode, which I'm going to show you in a second. Then you've got the accept edits, so it's always going to accept the edits itself. And then it's not going to ask you for anything. That means that it's going to run bash scripts. It's going to be able to do changes on your local machine, as well as actually accepting its own edits. So this is more like a YOLO, I guess, mode. You can think of it. I'm just going to have it to default because that kind of works for me. Model is also another one that you can change from here. So if you were to press space, it is going to take you to the model selection. So by default, the Opus 4.6 is set up. So let me actually select this one. If you press left and right arrow keys on your keyboard, and if you pay attention to the high effort, so those 3 orange bars, if you go to left, it's gonna reduce the effort. So low effort means it's gonna probably, take a little bit quicker to give you an output. The result might not be the best. Then medium, and obviously high effort. The higher the effort, obviously it's gonna use more tokens, right? And then you press enter to confirm the selection. Then the other thing, if you are using Claude Code with something like VS Code or Cursor, and like in my case here, I'm using a separate terminal. If it is set to true, Claude Code is going to try and find the connection. If it's set to false, you have to go and initialize the connection. So if you were to press Shift and Tab, you'll be able to cycle through different modes. So accept edits on or plan mode. And if you are going to be building a feature, so I'll show you how that works. This is obviously just a sample prompt. You press enter, Claude Code is just going to go and think through the problem. Sometimes it might use some kind of a sub-agent as well. And once it finishes, you're going to get a kind of a summary, what is the plan to do, and then you have the option to accept or decline. So when Claude finishes, you are going to get 4 options that you can pick. So the first option just clears the context completely, just in case the plan was, it took a while and it just ate a lot of context, and then go off and start developing. Auto accept edits, it's pretty much the same context, and it goes and develops. The manually approve edits, it's going to ask you every single time if you accept the edits. And the fourth one is where you can actually type in any change you want to make to the plan because you might just not agree with the plan, and then hit enter. Claude is going to go off again and update the plan. You can run Claude Code in the YOLO mode, So if you do that, it's going to be able to edit any files. That also includes running commands in your terminal. So make sure that you're okay with it. If you are working in an environment that you know there's nothing bad can happen, I highly suggest using it or even trying out playing with it. So the way you do it, you have to use it when you are starting Claude. So you have to type in Claude and then -- dangerously --skip -permissions, and then when you hit enter, you will see that Claude Code is running and it says bypass permissions on. So another tip, if you want to run bash commands inside of Claude Code, you can actually do that by pressing the exclamation mark. If you do that in Claude Code, it is going to switch to bash mode, and then you can run your typical npm run dev. If you do that, in this case, it's just going to run the localhost for this Next.js application. Another cool tip is to get Claude Code access to the Anthropic marketplace, where you can add more plugin skills to kind of a supercharger Claude Code experience. The easiest way really to do this is to go to the Claude Code docs. I'm going to drop a link in the description. Just copy this command from here, plugin marketplace at Anthropic/Claude Code, and then go back to Claude Code and just paste that, Ctrl V, and then press enter. That is going to clone the GitHub repository from Anthropic marketplace, and it has added the marketplace itself. So now to get access to see what is currently available in my instance of Claude Code is you just type in /plugin, and it's going to show you a few tabs. The first one is discovery or discover. This is where you can actually see what is currently available that was created by the Anthropic team. And these are pretty much skills that we will be adding later. You can see what is installed. I currently just have an MCP, a Claude Code extension in Chrome, and then the marketplace itself. You can add more marketplaces if you know of a private marketplace. So the way you would do it is just add the marketplace, then paste the link here, and that's gonna also make that private marketplace available here. And if there are any unique skills that that private marketplace has created, you would see it listed here. Okay, here is a bonus tip, which is just super helpful, is to use voice for dictation, so voice to text. There's a bunch of tools that are available. The way it pretty much works, you just have a shortcut assigned to it, and you just talk to Claude, and then the text is being pasted. It speeds things up tremendously, and it also kind of personally, it helps me think through whatever I want Claude Code to build. Can you please tell me something about this repository? And then whatever you're asking Claude Code to do, it just pastes the text and you just carry on. So there are different applications. There is the Super Whisper, which is available for Mac and Windows. So that's one of them. They all have kind of a pretty decent free tiers for you to explore. The one that I am currently using is the Whisper Typing. Somehow this one just works for me, but it doesn't really matter. They are all kind of on the same level. Now to access the marketplace, you type /plugin and then just hit enter. We have different types of skills really that you can add to your Claude Code. So the one that I love using is the front-end design skill pretty much, which is a markdown file, which kind of makes all the front-end work look much more modern, much more intentional. So there are a few options you can choose from. You can either use a user scope or just be very kind of targeted and use the skill for just this repository. I'm gonna just use a user scope here, and that is pretty much it. If we were to go back to the plugins now and see what is installed, you will see that I have front-end design plugin, and the other one is just an MCP, which is the Chrome extension MCP. Another way of creating and adding skills is pretty much just asking Claude Code to create a skill for you. So in this case, I'm asking Claude Code to create an information architecture good practices skill for me, and I'm just pointing it to the local repository and just adding a link to the docs just in case. So once the skill is done, you see it uses the correct structure. It is a markdown file, which is going to be stored in Claude folder, in the subfolder skills, and then the sub folder. In my case, it is information architecture. So there are two files, patterns, which the skill is going to use, which is kind of based on the repository itself, and then the skill itself. To see if the actual skill is present in Claude Code, you can just press /skills and it should be listed there. So we see two skills. So the front-end design one, which we got from the marketplace itself, and then the other one, information architecture, good practices, which is stored in the repository. Now, how would you use that while you're working? You would pretty much have to mention that skill. So in our case, information architecture. I am going to change to the plan mode. So as you can see, information architecture is mentioned. So once I press enter, Claude Code should know to look for that skill. There it is. So it's using that particular skill. It is looking through the content of it and obviously creating plan, utilizing the knowledge that is there. So once you have your skills created or added to Claude Code, you don't really have to mention the skill in the prompt itself. You can start with the actual skill. So I'll show you. So in our case, we had the front-end design. So you see that this is the skill that we have added using the marketplace. So if I press enter, Claude Code should ask me a question: what do I want to build? So it has recognized that this is the front-end design skill and is asking us what component, page, for application, what is the purpose, and then you can obviously describe what you want to build. So there are a few ways of using skills. This one is pretty awesome as well. Now, another very powerful feature of Claude Code is the agents, where the CLI can actually delegate work to sub-agents. So the way you would go about it, again, it's a / command, so / and then agents. You will see that I don't really have any. So the way you would go about it, you just press enter, create new agent. You can either do a personal, which is going to be kind of a user scope, your operating system user scope, or you can do that in the actual project. So I'm just going to select the project, and then it suggests to generate with Claude. Can you please create an agent that is going to be doing an accessibility validation for me? Now we are getting a few options here. I normally just leave everything on and then hit continue. We can also choose which model. That can be actually very important, because if you know that you don't need a very powerful LLM like Opus, maybe you can just default to Sonnet. And then we can obviously pick a color. That color is going to indicate the actual agent itself running. And we can read through the description what the agent is going to do. We save this, and now you can see that we have our project agent, which is the accessibility validator. If we press into it, we can see the details of it. We can obviously remove it or edit the agent as well, which is kind of cool as well, because you can keep iterating on it, right? So hey, can you do a quick accessibility validation using the accessibility validator agent for me? Thank you. So we should see that agent being used if it all worked correctly. There you go, accessibility validator. It's an agent that is currently running and doing the validation. So the difference between, let's say, a skill and an agent, you can think of an agent as your kind of a coworker. It has its own context. It has, it can have its own prompts and skills and so on. There's another super useful / command, which is the context one. So if you use /context, you are going to see how much of your context currently is being used and what it is being used for. You've got this kind of a nice visual over here, and here is the breakdown of what is using what. Why it is important? It is important because you don't want to like add too much context just before you start asking Claude to do something for you. So just making sure that you don't have too many MCPs running. If I'm not using the Claude in Chrome MCP, I might just turn it off to save some tokens and free up the context as well. Also the agent or agents in general are going to be listed here. In our case, we just have one, the accessibility one. Skills, so the information architecture, and then front-end design. You don't have to use it all the time, but it's a good way of kind of understanding, how much has been already used. And if you would like to free up the context itself, the other / command that is super helpful is the clear command. So if you type clear, and by the way, all the / commands have descriptions, so it's really easy to understand what they would do. So if you were to hit clear, it's going to clear the history, but also free up the context as well. So the compact command, I'm not sure if you need to use that because you can set the compacting of the conversations to be always set to true. So not that many people talk about this / command, but it is actually very useful. It is similar to cursor checkpoints, so you can reverse the changes that the LLM has made. So rewind / command, if you press enter, it is going to show you a list of previous changes, and then you can pick and revert to the previous state. So that's one way of accessing it. The other way is by double pressing the escape key. So if you press the escape key twice, it is going to bring that list again. The cool part about double pressing the escape is also if you have text in Claude Code and you press the escape key twice, it is going to just clear the entire text for you. So you don't have to use the backspace to just clear the text. You can pretty much just do this with pressing escape twice. And then twice again, it's going to show you the rewind / command. Now, Claude Code also has automation, which you can find under the / command called hooks. No context is being used during the hook execution, and it doesn't really use the LLM's capabilities. What it does, it kind of sets a pattern. If something happens, then something else needs to be triggered, and so on. So it's kind of an automation, pretty simple automation. So if you go to hooks, at this stage you're selecting when the automation needs to happen. Like, does it need to happen like pre-tool use, meaning let's say some Claude Code is thinking of executing something, and that's when this tool needs to be triggered, or when the tool has just ended its execution, and that's when the hook is going to kick in. So another way, as in most cases in Claude Code, you can just pretty much ask it. So kind of the most obvious things that you can probably add as a hook is one, to never run npm run dev and let the end user to handle the server itself, the local host. Okay guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. / commands and the way I use Claude Code, it's been awesome. It's pretty amazing. I'm gonna leave the / commands in the description, so go check it out. And if you have any ones that I haven't covered here but you're using, or maybe you have a workflow, just put it in a comment. It's gonna be much appreciated. Thank you. Bye.